All right, Shalom Israel, you live with the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Priest and Captain Soccer War coming to y'all live from Memphis, Tennessee. Very, beautiful day today, man. Day one, the opening of the Feast of Hanukkah. Many of you, maybe growing up in the world, you've known it as Hanukkah your whole life. Hanukkah is a very, very special celebration in the Israelite history, Israelite tradition, like with many things biblically and having to do with Israelite culture. The true understanding and true meaning behind Hanukkah has been largely lied about, and what the world has been taught concerning Hanukkah is misleading and untrue. And here at the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, everything that we strive to do in these classes every day we teach is to show our people the truth concerning the Bible, concerning Hebrew culture, concerning how these things that we've been hearing about our entire lives fit and play a role with us, right? So over the next, Hanukkah is an 8-day celebration. It is not a high holy day or a feast day, but it is a memorial service, meaning it is a special occasion that we as a nation decided that we would keep the tradition of, that we would make sure that throughout every generation, everyone would remember this miraculous act that the Lord performed on our behalf, right? So over the next 8 days, what I plan to do is every day I'll take some time, take an hour or so to go live to discuss some aspect of Hanukkah, discuss, some piece of the history concerning what this celebration is about, concerning what it meant for our people thousands of years ago when the celebration first began, and what it should mean for us here today, right? So the title of tonight's class is A Time to Feast and a Time to Mourn. And as with all things that we have held important as Israelites, as a people, it is important to never forget the past. It's important to never forget the things that have transpired for us and around us as a nation, which has given us the opportunity and the ability to thrive and rise as a people, giving us opportunity to come together and be thankful, to come together and know that the Most High is real, and we can look at these events that have transpired in our history that show us that the Most High is real. So here tonight in Memphis, in many cities across the country, right now in Las Vegas, there's a large gathering of brothers and sisters who are doing just that, coming together to remember the amazing grace and mercy that the Most High has shown to us in allowing us to continue to be a nation, and allowing us to escape, utter destruction, and allowing us to be able to overcome tremendous odds as a people and a nation so that we could still, survive enough of us to stake a claim in the earth that we are God's people, and this is why our existence is necessary. Everybody understands? Well, just as well as there is a time to feast, well, I'm gonna let the Bible speak about what I want to teach the class on. Before we go into that, if there's any questions in the class, raise your hand. If any questions online, all brothers and sisters have to do is type them in. So since we don't have any questions, what we want to do is let's go to let's go into the Bible. We're going to go into Ecclesiastes. I want to say chapter 3. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, right? And as we begin, this celebration of Hanukkah, we begin this feast, I think it's important for brothers and sisters to take a look at the time that we're living in now, and to get an understanding of where we are historically and the things that are taking place in this society and in this time, because a lot of what is happening around us and the things that we are experiencing in this lifetime, they are going to have implications that expand for many, many generations beyond this one. And so, in understanding that in every lifetime, history is being made, it's important to understand our history in order to see in times past where the Lord has allowed other brothers and sisters to make their stake or make their mark on history. We are in our time going to have an opportunity to make a stake. I mean, to make a to make a mark on the history that is going to follow after this. And so, it's necessary to know your past in order for you not only to not repeat the same mistakes that were made in the past, but also to have the courage and the bravery to do something in the time that you have on the earth that future generations will have to look to. That makes sense, right? All right, so this is Ecclesiastes chapter 3. We're going to start at verse 1. It says, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. Meaning everything has a time, right? There's a time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up that which was planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to get and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to cast away. A time to rend and a time to sow. A time to keep silence and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time of war and a time of peace. That's it on that. I'm gonna leave that there. Everybody understands. So the Most High has made it clear that there is a time for everything in this life. And for many of us, it's important that we take this time during this Feast of Hanukkah to feast. It's important that we take this time to remember the past. We take this time to be thankful to the Most High for his blessings, to be thankful for his mercies, to be thankful for his patience, to be thankful for, him allowing us to have more time to get it right. Because just as well as we are in our time to be thankful, there's so many others who are in the time to mourn. And with these times that we're living in, with all of the things that are happening around us, it would be wise to, enjoy and embrace these moments that we have of peace. Enjoy and embrace these moments we have of celebration. Enjoy and embrace these times that we have where, we can freely serve the Lord, freely enjoy the brotherhood that we've been given, freely enjoy the access to classes and knowledge and all the things that the Lord is granting us, because right around the corner, if you're paying attention to what's going on this earth, if you're paying attention to what's going on, right around the corner is going to be a time where those things can be more difficult, where those things can get harder. You understand? If you're paying attention to what's going on in the world right now, our oppressor is still in the middle of a fight for power. You understand? There's a disease that the Lord has unleashed on the earth that's running rampant, and the oppressor is always looking for a way for him to gain an extra leg. You understand? And with all of the whispers of a vaccine and you know, they no more you know, no more unemployment insurance and no more, you know, money for this and grocery stores shutting down. We have to remember that we are like the children of Israel in the time of Moses, where the Lord is trying to show Pharaoh, let my people go, but Pharaoh's heart is continually being hardened. And I can only imagine what it was like in those days when Moses was pleading with Pharaoh and pleading for the Lord's children to be let free so that they could go and serve him. And Pharaoh would stop at nothing to make sure that the Lord would not be served. Well, we are in that time right now. There's a lot of brothers and sisters who are waking up to the reality that this life that we have here in America is not working. That this way of life, this culture that we've been given, there's something wrong with this. And this isn't it. And as more and more of the Lord's Spirit has gone forth in this earth for brothers and sisters to wake up, the more and more hardened our oppressor is going to be towards the idea of us getting free. And so for those of us who find ourselves in the truth now, who the Lord has allowed to receive this knowledge and this understanding, largely, you know, unscathed, a lot of the things that we experience coming into the truth, it's more or less spiritual. It's more or less things that we can recognize and see. That's the Lord dealing with us, as opposed to, you know, our oppressor stopping us from hearing the truth. Our oppressor stopping us from gaining his knowledge. A lot of what we battle right now is just with ourselves. It's just with, you know, the personal overcomings that we have. Well, pretty soon we could be fighting against our oppressor to be able to gain this knowledge, to be able to say that we are an Israelite, to be able to embrace that we're the chosen people of God. And for those of us who the Lord has allowed to learn the truth now, be thankful and know that the Most High made you to have the ears that could hear and the eyes that could see, because he wanted you to enjoy this time that we have now. You understand? Because there's going to be a lot of brothers and sisters who become Israelites because it's either that or death, or become Israelites because of so much death, they see everything that we've been saying was true. But the Most High blessed us enough to be able to see it in a time when many people remain asleep. The Most High allowed us to see it in a time when many people thought that, man, you crazy, you in a cult. The Lord allowed you to see that, no, this is the most important thing that I've ever done in my life, was to change my life and to serve the Most High. You understand? And brothers and sisters should not count it as a small thing. Now, for those of us in the truth, is the time to rejoice. Now, for those of us in the truth, is a time to celebrate. And we should do it knowing that the Lord has allowed us this time, because right around the corner is going to be a time where we're tested. Right around the corner is a time where we are going to have to fight. Right around the corner is a time where we're going to have to prove that we're thankful. We're going to have to prove that we trust in the Most High. We're going to have to prove that everything that we've been taught and we've been shown to be true concerning the Most High is indeed what we believe. Everybody understands? So with that, let me drop this. We're going to go into the book of First Maccabees. I just want to get a bit of just a little piece of the history concerning why the Feast of Hanukkah is such an important day. I mean, such an important feast for us to remember. All right, let's get First Maccabees, chapter 4, verse 52. Well, we ain't gonna go right there. We're gonna go around about there. Let me see something. right. Let me see something. All right, hold on. Hold on. Let's go to First Maccabees. Like I said, every day we're gonna be going into a little bit of the history of what occurred during this time. So I don't want to get too much of it today. Everybody saying, um, okay, okay. All right, all right. Hold on for bear with me for one more minute. Hold on. All right, so we're gonna do First Maccabees chapter 1, and we're gonna start at verse 1. And what I'm gonna do here, with First Maccabees chapter 1, today we're gonna read some of chapter 1 and understand that before this time of mourning that preceded the rededicating of the temple back to the Most High, the children of Israel lived relatively in a time of peace. You understand? If anybody knows the history of what occurred before the book of First Maccabees, okay, the book of First Maccabees takes place, as we're about to read, during the reign of the Greeks on the earth, right? And before the reign of the Greeks, the children of Israel were in captivity under the Persians and the Medes. If you know the history of Israel and know the history of those different nations on the earth at that time, under the Persians and the Medes, or during the last few chapters of the book of Daniel, when King Cyrus conquered the Babylonians and took control over the land where Israel dwelt, right? We lived in relative peace under the Persian Empire. During the days of the Persians is when we were allowed to go back into our land and we were allowed to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. You understand? You go read the book of Ezra, you go read the book of Nehemiah, you go read the book of, like I said, the book of Daniel towards the end. The Persians were the ones who allowed us to go back into our land. They gave us license amongst the heathens, amongst all the other nations. After we went into captivity under the Babylonians, they allowed us to restore ourselves into the homeland. They allowed us to rebuild the temple, rebuild the walls of Jerusalem, reestablish ourselves as a nation. You understand? And so during that time, we dwelt in relative peace. During that time, we were able to build and we were able to gather together and we were able to plant and we were able to, rejoice. But shortly after that time of living under the rulership of the Persians and the Medes, shortly after that time of us being able to build ourselves up and rebuild the walls of Jerusalem and begin sacrificing once again in the temple and serving the Most High, then the times that we're about to read about now came about. Everybody understands? And so I wanted to make sure that we understood that history, because as Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter said, there's a time and a season for every purpose under the heaven. You understand? And for those of us who find ourselves in the truth now, the Lord has allowed us to find the truth during this time of peace, during this time of rejoicing, during this time of planting, during this time of, love. Everybody understands? While the majority of our people have been dying and been suffering and been going through hell under this oppression, for some of us, the Lord has allowed us to be able to find the truth and relative peace. Like I said, like I've taught before in this class, not many of us have had to bleed for the truth. Not many of us had to, die or lose a loved one or physically endure pain in order to find the truth and come and serve the Lord. For many of us, finding the time and finding out how to serve and obey the Most High and keep His laws, the only hardship we've suffered is with ourselves. It's just really going through the motions of making the transformation. You understand? Well, we're about to read about brothers and sisters who they did not get an opportunity to come into the truth and serve the Lord in the relative peace. They did not get an opportunity to stand with the Most High, and the only problems they had to face were their own personal problems. We're about to read about brothers and sisters who lived in a time where they were actively persecuted for their belief in the Most High, where they were actively traumatized and oppressed because of their belief in the Most High. They lived in a time that is not like one where we are in right now, where you can believe you in the truth. You can assert yourself as an Israelite, and nobody gives you problems. Everybody understands? Right now, you believe you're an Israelite, you can go to your slavery and say you don't celebrate Christmas, right? You can go to your slavery and say, no, I don't celebrate Thanksgiving. And somebody say, Merry Christmas to you, and you say, well, I don't celebrate Christmas. Well, guess what? There were brothers and sisters who lived in a time where they could not say that. There were brothers and sisters who lived in a time where they had to put on, Santa Claus suits, and they had to go and put gifts under the tree, where if they did not sin against the Lord, then they faced punishment. They faced persecution. Everybody understand? And I want us to understand that we could be coming back to a time like that. We could be coming back to a time where just because you're an Israelite and you would say that you're an Israelite, you would suffer punishment. Everybody understand? If we come to those times again, it'll be the lessons of these brothers and sisters we're about to read about that is going to give us the strength to endure. Everybody understands? But for brothers and sisters in the world, it will relatively be unchanged for them because they have been oppressed in hell anyway. Everybody understand? All right, it's 1 Maccabees chapter 1, verse 1. It says, and it happened that after that, Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, the king of the Persians and the Medes, that he reigned in his stead the first over Greece, and made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth, and went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up. And he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries and nations and kings, who became tributaries unto him. And after these things he fell sick, and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. And so Alexander reigned 12 years, and then he died. This Alexander is speaking about who they call Alexander the Great, or Alexander the Greek in history. Everybody understands? And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been in hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. So in the 137th year of the Greek Empire, there arose Antiochus Epiphanes. Everybody understands? In those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. Now, the time that we had departed from the heathens was the time during the Persians and the Medes, when we had come back to the Most High. When we had come back to our land and built up Jerusalem and put back in the laws and were strong as a nation, standing alone with the Lord. Well, after the time of the Greeks rising to power, wicked men in our nation said, you know what, man, I know we got a nation, and I know we got, a kingdom, and I know we got our own land and our own culture, but it's so much more profitable to be like these other nations. It's so much more it would be so much more profitable if we lost our independence. You understand? Like we talked about last night, where the Lord said we were going to be ashamed, you understand, for joining another tree, and we would be confounded for walking in their gardens. With these men during this time, they saw the tree of the Greeks, and they saw how big and tall it was, and how long the branches were, and how the fruit of this tree looked so good. And they said, listen, man, we should go and make a covenant with the heathen. We should go and join ourselves to this Greek tree. We should go and join ourselves to this nation, because we have been poor standing with the Lord. Everybody understands? So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward herein, meaning there were some brothers who were so determined to sell out. Some brothers who were so determined to join themselves to the Greeks that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen. And with this license, it says, whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the customs of the heathen, and made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. What does it mean when it says that these brothers made themselves uncircumcised? It's impossible for a man to physically uncircumcise himself. Once you're a child and that rod gets cut, there's no undoing it. There ain't no putting that skin back on. You understand? Once that hood get taken off, you can't put it back. It's done. This is not talking about physical circumcision. This is talking about they went from being children of Israel, Shaka Bun Gad, Bun Yashala, to now wanting to be Kevin Thompson, to now wanting to be, Alexander Judah, instead of being, Yahawada, Bun Yawasap, Bun Yashala. They now wanted to go and mix themselves with these other nations. They wanted to cover themselves with the branches of this Greek tree. Everybody understands? And understand, it says they were sold to do mischief, meaning they sold out. This is the Bible saying they sold out. You understand? Understand that when we say somebody sold out today, we're saying they were sold to do mischief. We're saying you sold, meaning you sold yourself to the advantage of these other nations. You sold yourself to give someone else a leg up over you. And that's not the way that the Lord intended for us to be. That's what we mean when we say somebody's selling out. We mean they were bought by someone else. They gave what belonged to us. They gave it to somebody else. Your allegiance, your loyalty, your ability belongs to your nation, belongs to the Lord. Well, if you sell out, that means you allowed yourself to be bought. You allowed all those talents and gifts you have to now belong to someone else because you put a price tag on it. Everybody understands? The Bible is saying that these men sold out. Everybody understands? Reading on, this is First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 16. Now, when the kingdom was established, before Antiochus had thought to rule, before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have dominion of 2 realms. Wherefore he entered into Egypt with a great multitude, with chariots and elephants, and horsemen, and a great navy, and made war against Ptolemy, king of Egypt. And Ptolemy was afraid of him and fled, and many were wounded to death. So this is talking about the war that was between the Greeks and the Egyptians. I mean, between the Greeks and between the Greeks who were ruling over our part of the land, between Antiochus and Ptolemy. Everybody understands? Antiochus and Ptolemy were two of the generals of Alexander that ruled. Ptolemy ruled over Egypt. Antiochus was set to rule over the land of Israel. Years later, sons later, the Antiochus dynasty went to war with the Ptolemy dynasty. Everybody understands? That's what that's talking about. Verse 19. Thus they got strong cities in the land of Egypt, and he took the spoils thereof. And after that Antiochus had smitten Egypt, he returned again in the 140th and 3rd year and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude. So after they went to war with the Egyptians, they came now to reestablish their claim over the land of Israel. Verse 21, and entered proudly into the sanctuary and took away the golden altar and the candlestick of light and all the vessels thereof, and the table of the showbread and the powering vessels and the vials and the censers of gold and the veil and the crowns and the golden ornaments which were before the temple, all which he pulled off. He took also the silver and the gold and the precious vessels. Also he took the hidden treasure which he found. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre and spoken very proudly. Therefore, there was great mourning in Israel in every place where they were, so that the princes and elders mourned, the virgins and young men were made feeble, and the beauty of women was changed. Every bridegroom took up lamentation, and she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness. The land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Judah, who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude. So now we just read about we just read about a reversal of that time of peace that we dwelt in under the Persians. We just read that after having lived under the Persians and reestablished the temple and rebuilt the candlestick and built up the walls of Jerusalem, this Greek army came in the 143rd year and they took everything over. Took all of the precious gold, all of the things that belonged to us, massacred us in wars, destroyed us in battlefields, and we were again reduced to captivity, reduced to a nation who were just slaves under another people. Again, reduced to the reality that we aren't in good standing with the Most High. But he has allowed these people to rule over us, destroy us, and conquer us. Everybody understand? After 2 years, they now sent men to claim tribute, to reestablish their superiority over us as a nation. Everybody understands? Verse 30, and spake peaceable words unto them. But yeah, and spake this. So he sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Judah, who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude. So these men who were now coming to collect tribute came with a great force. Come on, sis.
It's like taxes or something, or
imagine, don't just think taxes. Think the army coming and setting up, imagine martial law. So imagine we go to war, right? These people come in and we're not expecting a war because we've been dwelling in peace. They come and they kill, and they come and they ransack our houses, steal all the things that, are precious to us. They raid our temple where we go. The temple is the place where it's our symbol of, pride. It's our symbol of, our nation's strength.
Yeah.
They go and they ransack the temple. They take all of the gold ornaments, all the precious things out of the temple. They take all of the, the statues and the plates and the cups and the censers where we burn incense to the Most High. They pull down the altar where we go and make our sacrifices. Basically, they make a show of force that niggas, y'all ain't shit. We run this. We come and take whatever the hell we want. Ain't nothing y'all gonna do about it, right? So there's the army that comes through and kills and takes whatever they want. But then the army leaves. 2 years later, they bring in like a National Guard or bring in like a police. Imagine after being destroyed or being, killed in battle and having everything robbed and taken from us. 2 years later, they come and say, all right, y'all, we setting up a police precinct right here in this neighborhood. And these policemen have the power to do whatever the hell they want to do. They're going to be collecting taxes on the king's behalf. But collecting taxes is not give me your tax money. Collecting taxes is writing you a speeding ticket.
Okay.
Collecting taxes is, you got these, you got these lights in this house. We got to charge you for these lights. You got to start paying an electric bill. We got to start paying for plumbing. That's what taxing was in that day. Mm-hmm. Taxes, tribute was not pay your 10%. Tribute was, we're going to take whatever the hell we want and make sure that you understand who's in charge. Tribute in that day was like having the NYPD, like having the LAPD, where you can't, anything you do, you wrong. You go get in your car and drive, they hitting you, taxing you for a seatbelt violation, taxing you for not having a driver's license. And you like a driver's license, a seatbelt? What the hell are you talking about? Yeah. They just making up laws, making up things in order to charge you, in order to tax you. Everybody understand? Mm-hmm. So that's what happened. 2 years after they showed that they were in charge, they came and now set up police districts where they would continually tax us for little things to make sure that they could drain every bit of money and resources we had. Everybody understands? All right, this is First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 30. And spake peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit. For when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city and smote it very sore and destroyed much people of Israel. And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire and pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side. But the women and children took they captive and possessed the cattle. Then builded they the city of David with a great and strong wall and with mighty towers, and made it a stronghold for them. And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein. They stored it also with armor and victuals, and when they had gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem, they laid them up there, and so they became a sore snare. For it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary, and an evil adversary to Israel. Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary, and defiled it, insomuch that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them. Whereupon the city was made an habitation of strangers, and became strange to those that were born in her, and her own children left her. Her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness. Her feasts were turned into mourning, her Sabbaths into reproach, her honor unto contempt. So the script was flipped on Jerusalem. Instead of Jerusalem being this place that was a symbol of pride and greatness, and that we looked to be where the Lord dwelt and gave us power and strength, Jerusalem now was being run by the police. Jerusalem now was a place where the police killed you for doing anything small. You understand? They came over and took it over with deceit, but then they maintained it by establishing a force where anybody who came there, anybody who got out of line, they were murdered, they were killed, they were thrown in jail, and wasn't nothing anybody could do about it. Everybody understands? All right. Verse 40. As had been her glory, so was her dishonor increased, and her excellence was turned into mourning. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols, and profaned the Sabbath. So he gave this law. Many of our people were ready to abandon their identity. Many of our people were ready to abandon what it meant to be an Israelite, just like the time that we're in today. We're living in a time where so many of our people are so eager to be anything but a nigger that they'll do anything to be an American. They'll do anything to be accepted by the powers that be. Everybody understand? And this is an important lesson for us to understand, because again, remember, right before this time when we suffered these things, we lived in relative peace under the Persians. We lived in relative, we were able to exist and operate as a nation. But even at the time when we were operating and existing as a nation, there were many of our people who wanted to sell out. There were many of our people who saw the wealth and the riches that could be gained by joining themselves to the Greek tree. So that when the Greeks came down and murdered and killed us, even then there were those among our people who were eager to become a Greek, who were eager to abandon their culture and their identity, and they wanted to give it up. Everybody understands? We are living in a time where the Lord has given us the ability to gain this knowledge and this understanding, to claim our identity at a time when it's unpopular, at a time when so many of our people think it's, you a cult, you full of hate, y'all evil. Well, best believe there's going to come a time where the choice that we were allowed to make easily in becoming an Israelite and learning the truth, it is going to be difficult again, like it was during these times that we're reading about now. And it's important that we understand the ups and downs of time, and how the scripture says there's a time and a season for every purpose, because for many of us, this has been a season of peace. This has been a season of rejoicing and a season of being thankful. Well, right around the corner could be a season of trouble. It could be a season of persecution. It could be a season of hardship because of standing with the Lord. Everybody understand? I'm going to keep reading. Verse 44, for the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah that they should follow the strange laws of the land and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days and pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation, to the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die. In the selfsame manner wrote he to his whole kingdom and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city. Then many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit, everyone that forsook the law, and so they committed evils in the land, and drove the Israelites into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee for succor. Understand, we're talking about Israelites who are being forced to sacrifice to idols. Talking about Israelites that are being forced to adopt the custom of these heathens. But even though all of them are Israelites, in verse 53, it says it drove the Israelites into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee for succor. Why, if we're all Israelites, why are the brothers and sisters who are being drove into hiding called Israelites? Come on, say it.
I said because we never mind. That's the life.
No, say it.
That's the life.
Okay, being an Israelite in that day was like being an Israelite today. Being an Israelite is not just the blood that flows through your veins. Being an Israelite is being in the truth. And being in the truth is more than just knowing you're an Israelite. Being in the truth is obeying the Most High. Being in the truth is being in the body of Christ. Being in the truth is being willing to suffer the consequences of standing with the Lord regardless of the times that you living in. Everybody understand? And these brothers, they were Israelites who fled and hid so that they could maintain their honor and integrity and obeying the Lord. Everybody understands? Come on, sis.
This is like recurrent though, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? I say it because
that's why I say it's important for us to understand the history, because we're repeating it.
So when you said in the beginning, we might have to go back to this. We might have to go back to
hiding. That's what I'm saying. That's why there's a time to feast and a time to mourn. We are in a time of feasting as people in the truth. My 10 years, I've been in the truth 10 years, thank the Most High. It hasn't been hard being in the truth. Meaning, nobody tried to punch me in the mouth because I said I was in the truth. Nobody telling, being in the truth, showing that I'm in the truth has never lost me anything in this life. You understand what I'm saying? I've never gone into a restaurant and they wouldn't serve me because I had fringes on my pants. I've never gone into a place to eat and I couldn't get nothing to eat because I had the shield of David on. You understand what I'm saying? People might ask me, what's that about? What's this about? But I've never been denied anything because of it. Well, we may come to a time where it becomes a symbol of outrage. Simply saying you're an Israelite becomes something that makes people hate you. You understand what I'm saying? We could go back to that time. We could be coming with everything that's going on right now. There's certain things that we are unwilling to do because we're Israelites. There's certain things that we won't stand for being Israelites. And for a long time now, it's been just something that we've dealt with on a personal level. But it could come a time where it's something that we all deal with collectively as a nation. You understand what I'm saying? I don't know a brother who's been denied a job because he's an Israelite. And we could get to a point where being an Israelite is so controversial that you can't get a job if you're an Israelite. You understand what I'm saying?
Like if you professing that you're Israelite.
Yes. Like if you saying I'm an Israelite, you can't work here. We don't hire your kind here. Or you're a bigot, you're a racist. We can't hire you in this establishment. To where it'll draw a line between who's an Israelite and who's not. Right now you can openly not celebrate Christmas, and it's not a problem. That's your preference.
Right.
It could come a time where you don't celebrate Christmas. You're not in there. What kind of American are you? What kind of a person are you? You stand and say, I'm an Israelite. I serve God, and I obey the Most High. But now it's a problem with this establishment. Well, sir, if you can't, wear this Santa Claus beard or put on these elf ears, you're not going to be able to work here. Who knows what it could be? Who knows what form or shape it could take on? But we should prepare ourselves to be in a time where being an Israelite is no longer a passive thing that you can do. Or it's no longer something that you can just be okay. People are okay with it. Oh, that's different. It could come a time where being an Israelite carries consequences. Everybody understands? We are reading about brothers and sisters who lived in a time where just being an Israelite, acknowledging that they were an Israelite, carried a punishment. It carried something more than just the discomfort of feeling like people looked at you strange. Everybody understands? Verse 54. Now the 15th day of the month Casliu, in the 145th year, they set up an abomination of desolation upon the altar and builded idol altars throughout the cities of Judah on every side, and burnt incense at the doors of their houses and in the streets. And when they had rent in pieces the books of the law which they found, they burnt them with fire. Right now, we're in a time where it's okay for us to have the Bible. It's okay for us to read the scriptures and break down Deuteronomy 28 and 68, where this time you couldn't read no Bible. Every Bible they found, they took it and they burned it up. So guess what? You had to hide a Bible. Couldn't go out there on the street and break down the scriptures. You had to break down the scriptures in the basement, under the floorboards, under candlelight. Couldn't have no schools with no classrooms and teaching the nation. Couldn't put videos out on the internet and broadcast them everywhere because they would be banned for being, you know, racially insensitive content. We could come to those times. Those days could come again. Everybody understands? All right, verse 57, and wheresoever that was found with any the book of the testament, or if any consented to the law, the king's commandment was that they should put him to death. You got found with a Bible, you put to death. You got found, somebody said, you keep the laws of the God of Moses, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and you say, yeah, they put you to death. Verse 58, thus did they by their authority unto the Israelites every month, to as many as were found in the cities. Now the 25th and 20th day of the month, they did sacrifice upon the idol altar, which was upon the altar of God. So they put an altar to an idol on top of the altar that was built for the Most High. So imagine there's an altar, right? No, and I've described this before. The altar in the temple was like a giant grill, right? Just think of a giant grill, but a grill where only the priests put meat on it. The sacrifices, they kill a lamb, the priest would take the lamb, lift it up to the Lord. He'd place the lamb on the altar. It burned, the fire, the flame would go up to the Lord. Well, they took that altar and built over top of it an altar. So imagine the altar's there, but they put a giant statue of Zeus right there next to the damn, next to the flame, so that as you put the damn meat down, it looked like the smoke is going up to this giant statue of Zeus standing there. So that's what it means. They covered the altar with the heathen god, and guess what? On this altar that was for the Most High, what would go on it? Only lawful foods would go on it. Only lawful sacrifices. Yeah. Well, on this altar of Zeus now, they throwing up pig, they putting raccoons on there, squirrels, they throwing all manner of abominable things on there. Everybody understands? Verse 60, at which time, according to the commandment, they put to death certain women that had caused their children to be circumcised. And they hanged the infants about their necks and rifled their houses and slew them that had circumcised them. Howbeit many in Israel were fully resolved and confirmed in themselves not to eat any unclean thing. Wherefore they chose rather to die, that they might not be defiled with meats, and that they might not profane the holy covenant. So then they died, and there was very great wrath upon Israel. Everybody understands. This was a time of full out mourning for our people. This was a time where standing with the Lord could cost you your life. And we've covered many times in these classes that we have been living in time where the Lord has not required us to shed blood to stand for him. But many of us have been able to stand with the Lord relatively in peace. We could be coming to a time where standing with the Lord can be a cause for grief. Standing with the Lord can be more difficult than just the frustrations that we've experienced with our families and with our loved ones, and dealing with the society that is so cruel and evil while we are fighting to stand with the Lord. Everybody understands. And my message in that and in this history lesson is, let's be thankful and appreciative for the time the Lord has allowed us to come into the truth. Yeah. For the time the Lord has allowed us to understand him and learn about him, and to begin to change our lives, knowing that we could be right around the corner from a time where we're asked to shed our blood for the Lord. We're asked to give up more than what we ever thought we'd have to sacrifice in the name of the Most High Christ. You understand? And if the Lord sees fit for that time to come, we will be able to remember days like today and weeks like the week we're going to have celebrating this feast of Hanukkah, to remember what it was like to stand in the light of the Most High during a time when the rest of the earth didn't see the importance in it. Everybody understands? So with that, like I said, every day I'm gonna try to go live for at least a half an hour, break down a little bit more concerning the Feast of Hanukkah. Today, I wanted to make sure that we can understand the history of how we arrived at celebrating this feast and why it was such an important triumph that we had in overcoming these Greeks and being able to rededicate the temple back to the Most High. With tonight's class, we were able to look at the history and see all that we lost and all that we suffered at the hands of Antiochus Epiphanes and the men who he sent to overthrow Jerusalem. Tomorrow we'll continue on with the beginnings of how the revolution began, which led to us ultimately being able to have this 8-day celebration, which we're starting tonight. Come on, sis.
So like I said, real quick, you know how people get into like the Christmas spirit and is it well, I guess, is it okay? Because I'm gonna say this every well, since I've been in the church, at least the past 3 years, every year around this time, around the Hanukkah time, I get into that mindset. It's like it always happens about a month before. I always be like, okay, man, I'm ready to die for this shit. Like, and it is. I don't know if it's prepping me for this particular. I guess you said it's not a feast day, but the Memorial Day. Is that? I'm not gonna say get into the spirit. Well, I'm not, because I don't want to say it like you.
I understand. I understand. You. So you're asking. Okay, okay. You want to know? Is it? You want to know is what you feel, what you're experiencing real.
Concept,
right?
I would say every time around this time, because you know, like you said, you have to be prepared in the future, and it's crazy that you said that. Every year around, it's like I said, a month before. I don't know if I'm prepping for this, but it's just automatically like.
Here's what it is. I covered this last week in one of my classes. At the beginning of the class, I stressed to brothers and sisters that around this time of the year, regardless of how long you in the truth, you can feel a uneasiness around this time of the year, where it's like you don't know why, but you don't feel like yourself. Kind of feel down and like you're going through the motions, and it don't necessarily have to be anything bad happening in your life or anything you going through is difficult, but you can just be down and just don't even know why. Just feel like, man, I don't feel like myself. Right? A lot of times it's because of the Christmas spirit. It's because of the holiday spirit. Even though we in the truth and we largely ignore Esau's holidays, Esau is so aggressive with pushing that spirit that it's going to influence you. It's going to affect you. And being in the truth and hearing Christmas music and goddamn jingle bells and goddamn Nat King Cole songs, certain ones of them, it can make you subconsciously, it makes you feel like I hate this fucking place. I hate this fucking place. It's cold outside. You got to get up and go to a goddamn slavery. You're dealing with, it's an uneasiness that you feel. I didn't know what the hell it was, but I felt like I get down around this time of the year, and I didn't know what it was, but when I talked about it last week, I remembered that, okay, also this time of the year is cold outside. Brothers, that's in this truth. We ain't going out to camp. A lot of camps are getting clipped because of the weather. You know what I'm saying? We ain't able to go out there and speak and get things off our chest. We're dealing with Esau's holidays, dealing with the whole Thanksgiving spirit, the Halloween, the Christmas, and everybody gearing up. And happy holidays all the fucking time. Because we in the truth, we largely ignore it, but it still weighs on us. It still affects us damn near psychologically, spiritually. We don't recognize, it's subconscious, the effect that this whole fucking bullshit have on us. But it's real. Being in the truth and studying and understanding the truth, and when it comes up to the time of Hanukkah and remembering the way we suffered and the evil we went through, you feel rejuvenated learning about these brothers and sisters, because it's like it strengthens your resolve against this Christmas spirit. It strengthens your resolve against this captivity that we're in. The white man does the things he does to reinforce you're a slave, to reinforce how to pressure you into feeling like you have to be a part of this place. Well, it's not easy being a rebel. It's not easy rebelling against that. It's not easy standing against that holiday spirit and standing against that Christmas bullshit, and it can weigh on you. You understand what I'm saying? It's not unusual what you feel. I'm just trying to help you to understand why you feel it. You feel down because of this Christmas bullshit and this Thanksgiving bullshit. And then when it comes time to the Hanukkah, every year Hanukkah, we revisit this story.
Yeah.
Every year Hanukkah, we read about 2nd Maccabees, the 7th chapter, that sister and her 7 sons. And knowing those things, it gives you a renewed hatred for this place. It gives you a renewed sense of, man, you niggas need to wake up and stop being such goddamn slaves. It reignites that fire in all of us that makes us remember why we chose to serve the Lord in the first place. And it makes us thankful that the Lord chose us to be able to hear his voice to come serve him. You understand what I'm saying? But for all of you brothers and sisters out there, you may not know it, but that is the Christmas spirit is why you're down. You might think you're down because you ain't making enough money, or you might think you're down because of these bills, or hell, you might think you're down because of what, you know, something that's going on with you and your significant other. Some of you don't have significant others, especially for any brothers and sisters out there that's single. If you single around this time of the year, it's rough because everybody is celebrating and everybody coming together and all the family is gathering, and you standing strong and saying, I ain't coming to that goddamn Christmas dinner. I ain't coming to that Thanksgiving. It can make you feel lonely. It can make you feel like you're the only one. It could feel like, damn, is this why? You know, you don't know why. That's why. It's because you're fighting against the evil of this place. And around this time of the year, it weighs heavily on us because it's everywhere, all around us. And you don't even know it. You turn on the TV, you seeing Christmas commercials. You riding in your car, it's a goddamn Christmas jingle on there. You know what I'm saying? You don't know it. You're not recognizing it, but it's beating you from every angle. Christmas, Thanksgiving, be thankful. God bless America. And then New Year's is going to come. All of that shit weighs on you. You understand what I'm saying? And being in the truth, you'll feel the effects of it. You may not know what it is. I'm telling you what it is. It's Christmas. It's holidays. It's gathering with the family and all of the bullshit that's pushed on us to make us give into it. Because you're in the truth, because you're standing with the Lord, you are largely ignoring those things, but they're still coming at you from every angle. Hanukkah gives us, it reignites for us why we must stand, why we must fight against that Christmas, why I can't come be with y'all celebrating that bullshit, because celebrating that bullshit is why we died in the first place. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm saying that right now, in the time that we're in historically, with coronavirus, the election just happened, and there's a bunch of uncertainty. Every day you read about goddamn. If I read another story about vaccines, it might blow my mind. Now I'm gonna read them because I'm reading the stories like, these motherfuckers, what's in the vaccine? I'm reading it. I'm researching. I'm telling myself I ain't getting no fucking vaccine. They ain't shooting me with that shit. I ain't sure. I don't care what gentleman have. I'm not getting that. I'm not taking that fucking stuff. I'm not getting no fucking vaccine. I'm gonna let you motherfuckers get it first. It's it's pressure. Yeah. All of it is pressure. All of it is it's to make you unsure. It's to depress you. It's to cause you to be confused. And I'm thankful for the truth because I know the truth. Yeah. And I know the Lord. But the weight of this moment in history is heavy. Yeah. And it's heavy on all of us. We might not all talk about it, but it's heavy right now. You know what I'm saying? They all of the fear and the warnings of what may happen, and the economy might not recover. They might close the grocery stores down, and all the things that is all the pressure that's building up. Be thankful for the truth, because for many of us, the truth is the only thing that's going to get us through this time. Be thankful for the truth because you have it, and those people out there don't. And not having the truth is going to be many people's downfall. But be thankful for the truth. And understanding that while the Lord has blessed us to receive the truth in relative peace, we could come to a time where having the truth is no longer peaceful. I mean, having the truth is why you fight. Having the truth is why you go the extra mile to not do something or to do something because of the truth. You know what I'm saying? And as the truth becomes more difficult, it is a sign that we are closer to the time to be delivered out of here. So just know as the journey gets tougher, as the road gets rougher, we are that much closer to being delivered out of here. You know what I'm saying? You ever heard that it's darkest before the dawn? That's it. The more difficult standing in the truth becomes, the closer we are to being done, which means the harder it gets, the harder we have to get. The more difficult it becomes to stand, we have to stand that much that much harder. Everybody understands? Be thankful for the time that we have now where we can gather together and be with one another and encourage one another and strengthen one another, because it can come to a time where it's much more difficult for us to do those things. Everybody understands? And that's the lesson that the Lord is showing us with this history of Hanukkah. Everybody understands? So again, every day this week, tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, all the way for 8 days, I'm going to be going live for about an hour every day. Might be different times to break down a little bit more of the history of Hanukkah, just so that every night that we go to feast and celebrate and remember what our ancestors endured, we pray and ask the Most High to give us the strength and to give us the honor and to give us, the peace that we'll need in order to be able to endure whatever He has in store for us in this time. Everybody understand? With that, with the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, right out of 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rules for new brothers and sisters: when they come into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are here to learn and share themselves with the world. They need transportation. The teacher will arrange it. Tithes, which is a commandment, 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, give to the school. Again, tonight, upcoming Holy Convocation. Tonight is the beginning of the Feast of Hanukkah. It is a feast day which spans 8 days. So, in Israel, a party is a party. It's an 8-day party we're supposed to have. 8 days we're supposed to be eating, drinking, partying, having a good time, going to sleep, waking up, eating, drinking, partying, having a good time for 8 days, remembering how the Lord delivered our ancestors and praying that the Lord will give us time, give us an opportunity to gain such a glorious honor in these times we're living in now. So let's get it in, celebrate, partake, and be thankful. All right. With that, any brothers want to be troopers in the school, start wearing all black boots, shirt, pants, headband, scarf. With that, I imagine, which means to stand. In Israel, we can get one courtesy salute. Imagine Shabbat. Imagine Barak. Yahweh Hashem Yahushua Barak Dum. The Most High bless you in the name of Yahushua. Yahweh Matah, hands down. Saw, turn to face the sisters. Get the sisters one courtesy salute. Imagine Shabbat. Imagine Barak. Yahweh Shema Thumba Hashem Yahushua. The Most High watch over you in the name of Yahushua. Yahweh Matah, hands down. Class.